A sea captain is a high-grade licensed mariner in ultimate command of the merchant vessel. The captain is responsible for its safe and efficient operation, including ship's seaworthiness, ship's safety and security conditions, cargo operations, navigation, crew management, and ensuring that the vessel complies with local and international laws, as well as company and flag state policies. All persons on board, particularly during navigation, including public authorities, state authorities, officers and crew, other shipboard staff members, passengers, guests and pilots, are under the captain's authority and are his or her ultimate responsibility, duties and functions. A ship's captain commands and manages all ship's personnel, and is typically in charge of the ship's accounting, payrolls, and inventories. The captain is responsible for compliance with immigration and customs regulations, maintaining the ship's certificates and documentation, compliance with the vessel's security plan, as mandated by the International Maritime Organization. The captain is responsible for responding to and reporting in case of accidents and incidents, and in case of injuries and illness among the ship's crew and passengers. Responsibilities. The captain ensures that the ship complies with local and international laws and complies also with company policies. The captain is ultimately responsible, under the law, for aspects of operations such as the safe navigation of the ship, its cleanliness and seaworthiness, safe handling of all cargo, management of all personnel, inventory of ship's cash and stores, and maintaining the ship's certificates and documentation. One of a shipmaster's particularly important duties is to ensure compliance with the vessel's security plan, as required by the International Maritime Organization's ISPS code. The plan, customized to meet the needs of each individual ship, spells out duties including conducting searches and inspections, maintaining restricted spaces, and responding to threats from terrorists, hijackers, pirates, and stowaways. The security plan also covers topics such as refugees and asylum seekers, smuggling, and saboteurs. On ships without a purser, the captain is in charge of the ship's accounting. This includes ensuring an adequate amount of cash on board, coordinating the ship's payroll, and managing the ship's slop chest. On international voyages, the captain is responsible for satisfying requirements of the local immigration and customs officials. Immigration issues can include situations such as embarking and disembarking passengers, handling crew members who desert the ship, making crew changes in port, and making accommodations for foreign crew members. Customs requirements can include the master providing a cargo declaration, a ship's stores declaration, a declaration of crew members' personal effects, crew lists and passenger lists. The captain has special responsibilities when the ship or its cargo are damaged, when the ship causes damage to other vessels or facilities, and in the case of injury or death of a crew member or passenger. The master acts as a liaison to local investigators and is responsible for providing complete and accurate logbooks, reports, statements and evidence to document an incident. Specific examples of the ship causing external damage include collisions with other ships or with fixed objects, grounding the vessel, and dragging anchor. Some common causes of cargo damage include heavy weather, water damage, pilferage, and damage caused during loading, unloading by the stevedores. Finally, the master is responsible to address any medical issues affecting the passengers and crew by providing medical care as possible, cooperating with shoreside medical personnel, and, if necessary, evacuating those who need more assistance than can be provided on board the ship. Officiating marriages. There is a common belief that ship captains have historically been, and currently are, able to perform marriages. In most countries of ship's registry, this is certainly a myth. The United States Navy defined a captain's powers in its 1913 Code of Regulations, stating, "The commanding officer shall not perform a marriage ceremony on board his ship or aircraft. He shall not permit a marriage ceremony to be performed on board when the ship or aircraft is outside the territory of the United States, with the exceptions being in accordance with local laws and the laws of the state, territory, or district in which the parties are domiciled, and in the presence of a diplomatic or consular official of the United States, who has consented to issue the certificates and make the returns required by the consular regulations." There are a few contradictory legal precedents. Courts didn't recognize a shipboard marriage in California's 1898 Norman v. Norman, but did in New York's 1929 Fisher v. Fisher, and in 1933's Johnson v. Baker. An Oregon court ordered the payment of death benefits to a widow because she had established that her marriage at sea was lawful. New Jersey's 1919 Bulmer v. Edsel said a shipboard marriage ceremony is governed by the laws of the nation where ownership of the vessel lies. In the United Kingdom, no merchant ship has ever been approved for marriages, although from 1854 any which took place had to be reported in the ship's log. In other countries of ship's registry the legal situation varies. Most do not permit solemnization of marriage by the master of a ship at sea. Filipino law, as a narrow exception, recognizes a marriage in articulo mortis solemnized by the captain of a ship or chief of an aeroplane during a voyage, or by the commanding officer of a military unit. Japan allows captains to perform a marriage ceremony at sea, but only for the country's citizens. Malta or Bermuda-registered ships may offer weddings officiated by the captain at sea. Princess Cruises has used this as a selling point for their passenger ships since 1998, and Cunard announced its intention to move the registration of Queen Mary to Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth from Southampton to Bermuda in 2011. Some captains obtained other credentials which do allow them to officiate in jurisdictions where they otherwise would not be recognized. Another option is a wedding on a ship in port is using an officiant from that port. In fiction, ship captains have performed marriages in various media, including the 1951 film The African Queen, and episodes of The Love Boat and various Star Trek series. Licensing. United States. To become a master of vessels of any gross tons upon oceans in the United States, one must first accumulate at least 365 days of service while holding a chief mate's license. The chief mate's license, in turn, requires at least 365 days of service while holding a second mate's license, passing a battery of examinations, and approximately 13 weeks of classes. Similarly, one must have worked as a third mate for 365 days to have become a second mate. There are two methods to attain an unlimited third mate's license in the United States: to attend a specialized training institution, or to accumulate sea time and take a series of training classes and examinations. Training institutions that can lead to a third mate's license include the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, and the 6 state maritime academies in Maine, Massachusetts, New York, Texas, or California of the Great Lakes Maritime Academy, or a 3-year apprentice mate training program approved by the Commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. Furthermore, Third mates licenses can be obtained through the U.S. Coast Guard Academy and the U.S. Naval Academy with approved courses and requisite sea time as an officer in charge of a navigational watch. A seaman may start the process of attaining a license after 3 years of service in the deck department on ocean steamer motor vessels, at least 6 months of which as able seaman, boatswain, or quartermaster. Then the seaman takes required training courses and completes on-board assessments. Finally, the mariner can apply to the United States Coast Guard for a third mate's license. An alternate method of obtaining a license as a master of vessels of any gross tons upon oceans, without sailing as a third, second, or chief mate, is to obtain 1 year of sea time as a first-class pilot of any gross tons or mate of vessels of any gross tons upon Great Lakes and inland waters. Then pass an examination for the license of master of vessels of any gross tons upon Great Lakes and inland waters. A master of vessels of any gross tons upon Great Lakes and inland waters may, without any additional sea time, take the examination for master of vessels of any gross tons upon near coastal waters. If the candidate does not already have sufficient deep-sea experience, he may, with 6 months of additional sea time in any licensed capacity, take a partial examination consisting primarily of celestial navigation and have the near coastal restriction removed. A master of 1,600-ton vessels can, under certain circumstances, begin the application process for an unlimited third mate's license. Some employers offer financial assistance to pay for the training for their employees. Otherwise, the mariner is responsible for the cost of the required training. A chief mate to master formal training generally takes about 12 weeks and provides the knowledge, skills and other soft skills training to take on the duties and responsibilities. Various U.S. states require and issue shipmaster or captain licenses in order to be employed in operating a vessel for hire, while navigating within non-federal waters. Most states honor a USCG Master's certificate as an alternative to the state licensing. These state licenses certify that the captain has given satisfactory evidence that he/she can safely be entrusted with the duties and responsibilities of operating and navigating passenger-carrying vessels of the tonnage and upon the waters specified. The state-licensed captains command vessels that range from small uninspected vessels to large excursion vessels that carry over 100 passengers, so the licenses are not issued haphazardly. For example, see Washington State's certification of charter boats and operators licenses. Employment. United Kingdom. As of 2008, the UK Learning and Skills Council lists annual salaries for senior deck officers as ranging from £22,000 to over £50,000 per year. The council characterizes job opportunities for senior deck officers as generally good, and expects a considerable increase in the job market over the next few years. United States. As of 2013, captains of U.S.-flagged deep-sea vessels make up to $1,500 per day, or $80,000 to $300,000 per year. Captains of smaller vessels in the inland and coastal trade earn between $350 and $700 per day, or $65,000 to $180,000 per year. Captains of large ferries average $56,794 annually. In 2005, 3,393 mariners held active unlimited master's licenses, 87 held near coastal licenses with unlimited tonnage, 291 held unlimited tonnage master's licenses on inland and Great Lakes waters, while 1,044 held unlimited licenses upon inland waters only. Some 47,100 163 active master's licenses that year had tonnage restrictions, well over half of those being for near-coastal vessels of up to 100 tons gross tonnage. As of 2006, some 34,000 people were employed as captains, mates, and pilots of water vessels in the United States. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics projects 18% growth in this occupation, expecting demand for 40,000 shipmasters in 2016. Uniforms are still worn aboard many ships, or aboard any vessels of traditional and organized navigation companies, and are required by company regulation on passenger and cruise vessels. In the passenger-carrying trade, a unified corporate image is often desired, and it is useful for those unfamiliar with the vessel to be able to identify members of the crew and the function. Some companies and some countries use an executive curl similar to that of the Royal Navy. Captain and officers on British ships often wear the traditional diamond shape within the stripes. This represents the blade of a ship's propeller. It should be worn in the correct direction with the overlapping loop facing forward. In the United States, and in numerous other maritime countries, captains and officers of shipping companies may wear a merchant navy or merchant marine regular uniform in conjunction with their employment. Related terms: Master Mariner, the International Federation of Shipmasters Associations, the Council of American Master Mariners, the Honorable Company of Master Mariners, the Company of Master Mariners of Australia, the Company of Master Mariners of Canada, Associazione Professionale Europea Capitani Marittimi d'Italia. Captain seniority. In a few countries, as Italy and others, some captains with particular and requested experiences in terms of navigation and in terms of command at sea, depending by application of different countries' laws, will be named senior captain or shipmaster senior grade. Magister navis. The term master came from the Latin language used during the Imperial Roman age, from the Old Roman term magister navis, that is, the nobleman patrician designated as maximum authority on board the vessel. The magister navis had the right to use the laurus corona laurea and the corona navalis. For this Old Roman age tradition, the modern shipmaster of a few nations used to wear on the caps of his oar the golden laurel leaves. Skipper. A skipper is a person who has command of a boat of seacraft, a tug, more or less equivalent to a captain in charge aboard ship. At sea, or upon lakes and rivers, the skipper as shipmaster, a captain, has command over the whole crew. The skipper may or may not be the owner of the boat. The word is derived from the Dutch word schipper. Ship is Dutch for ship. In Dutch school is pronounced, and English speakers rendered this as. The word skipper is used more than captain for some types of craft, for example fishing boats. It is also more frequently used than captain with privately owned non-commercial or semi-commercial vessels, such as small yachts and other recreational boats, mostly in cases where the person in command of the boat may not be a licensed professional captain, suggesting the term is less formal. In the U.S., a skipper who is in command of a charter vessel that carries paying passengers must be licensed by a state of the USCG. If the vessel carries over 6 paying passengers, it must be an inspected vessel, and a higher class license must be obtained by the skipper master depending on the vessel's gross tons. In the Royal Navy, Royal Marines, U.S. Navy, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Coast Guard, and merchant naval slang, it is a term used in reference to the commanding officer of any ship, base, or other command regardless of rank. It is generally only applied to someone who has earned the speaker's respect, and only used with the permission of the commander, commanding officer in question. Skipper RNR was an actual rank used in the British Royal Naval Reserve for skippers of fishing boats who were members of the service. It was equivalent to warrant officer. Skippers could also be promoted to Chief Skipper RNR and Skipper Lieutenant RNR.